Happy Friday morning, everybody. And if you happen to be a fan of Stanford Cardinal or SMU or Cal, you are now a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Earlier this morning, many of you know that the chancellors met clearly for about 5 minutes. They voted to allow the membership of Cal and Stanford, as well as SMU, to the Atlantic Coast Conference. I've seen some of you melt down as if, this is the changing of life as we know it. I don't think it's that bad. Obviously, FSU, Clemson, and two North Carolina schools, one of them flipped. I have no idea who it was. Carolina came out last night with a statement saying they had no interest in these three schools becoming part of the conference. Clearly, they flipped somebody because they needed that extra vote, and they got it. I've heard some pretty interesting things in the last half hour about what's going to happen next in the conference, but I don't think there's going to be much happening except finding Oregon State and Washington State a new home, either in the American or in the Mountain West. So I think we're pretty much done for that. Speaking of done, if you were a Florida Gator fan last night, you saw that they were done early as Utah took them to the woodshed. You found Minnesota beating Nebraska, but not as easily as many would have thought, and UCF winning their first game as a member of the Big 12 Conference over Kent State, which of course is from the MAC. So those were the three big games last night, and all three of them went to the teams that were favored to win them. So there you go in that regard. So we've got that. We've got tonight, which is rare. It's not rare that we have a Friday night football game, but it's rare that we have so many Friday night football games. And this week has been. Yesterday we had 11 on a Thursday, and today we have, I think it's 5. Go down them real quick for you as we get ready here. Howard is at Eastern Michigan. That's a 6:30 kick at ESPN plus Jim Barber and Ryan Kavanaugh on the call. Now, Howard is a historically black college based in Washington, D.C. Eastern Michigan, for those of you who don't know, is in Ypsilanti, which is basically a suburb of a suburb of Ann Arbor. So you've got a MAC team and a SWAC team playing each other. Howard is not a bad football team. Eastern Michigan didn't have a great year yet last year in the MAC, but we'll see. Anyway, so Howard, Eastern Michigan, that's a 6:30 kick, ESPN Plus. Central Michigan, Michigan State, our buddy Tim Brando, who was in San Diego last week, is now in East Lansing, where you got two Michigan teams facing each other, one from the MAC, one from the Big Ten, and that's on FS1. Now, here's the fun one, the Battle of Miami of Ohio, again from the MAC, against an ACC team. Miami of Florida, the Canes. That's a 7 o'clock game on the ACC network. Jay Alter, Ralph Angola. But the call, Louisville, Georgia Tech, that's a game being played in Atlanta, 7:30 time on ESPN. Amish Schmoff and Andre Ware on the call. Missouri State, Kansas. That's a game 8 o'clock in Kansas, and that's on ESPN Plus. Chuck Kemp and Armand Green with the call. And finally, game that will start at 11 o'clock tonight. Stanford, a new member of the Atlantic Coast Conference, taking on Hawaii, who is with the Mountain West. That game being played in Honolulu. The game is 11 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Davey Ryan and Robert Turbin on the call. So there you go. That's your games for today. If you missed it, we'll see. All right, Gregory, how you doing today, buddy? Let's start. Jump in. Hasn't seen many AC fans who like this. I just hope this means North Carolina State won't be tied to UN when the teams start bolting from the ACC. Let me ask you something here, Greg. I don't understand why there would be a mass exodus from the conference, and also how one gets over the grant of rights. I mean, it's one point. It's $120 million. Okay, maybe that's something you can raise if you're an ACC team, but then you got $500 million at least. All right, maybe let's between 300 million and $500 million to get out of the ESPN deal. But ESPN would still own your rights, so you'd have to play all of your home games would be played on ESPN, regardless of where you are. So I don't see a mass exodus of the conference. What I do see is, let's say Florida State and Clemson get what they want, and that would be to exit. Then if I'm in the conference, I'm happy because goodbye, I'm getting $500 million from some of them, or if two of them go, I would have to be getting close to $1 billion more in revenue. So if they left, the ACC would actually get more money. So that's why it's kind of bizarre logic to me, but okay. If two teams want to leave, or if three teams want to leave, fine. I'm getting a war chest that's pretty darn good. So I wouldn't, if I'm a North Carolina State fan. By the way, kudos to you guys for last night's game. That was an entertaining game. I'm pretty happy that I'll wave goodbye and say, Godspeed. But I'm going to have an extra $1 billion to spend. So I wouldn't exactly call the ACC if they choose to, FSU and Clemson choose to leave. I wouldn't exactly be overwhelmingly sad to see them go if I'm going to get that kind of money on the backside. So if I'm North Carolina State or Pitt or Virginia Tech, any of those schools, I'm go ahead. You want to leave? Drive you to the airport. Anyway, that's that came up. It literally, these guys voted. It took them about 5 minutes to vote this morning. Around 8 o'clock ish. I assume they were on a phone call and not present in the room together. And they probably just wanted to get the damn thing over with before the holiday weekend. So that's probably what happened. But I think, look, if you're a North Carolina State fan, I think you're safe. You're not tied to North Carolina, obviously, because they put out a saying they didn't want to do this last night. And I didn't say anything from North Carolina State saying they didn't want to do this. So even if they voted no together, they didn't coordinate releases. So there you go. And at the end of the day, we're probably going to find out that it was by unanimous consent, right? Because those two or three who voted aren't going to want to be known that they voted. So they'll just ask for unanimous consent. And so it will be, on the record, it'll say that, it was a unanimous vote. So that way, nobody has to be the bad person in this situation. So let's go back to our Twitter questions. Twitter questions. What do we got? Yeah. Okay, where does Oregon State and Washington State land now? Because Stanford and Cal are gone. And so what was 3 weeks ago, the Pac-12 is down to the Pac-2. And I'm going to say, well, the most logical place because of geography would be both of them to the Mountain West. Although I know that the American is going to make a pitch for them, there is the possibility of a reverse merger, but I think that might work with the Mountains. Probably not going to work with the American, but you never know. We'll see how that works. But I do think that OSU and WSU are going to go to the Mountain. The money's not going to be good, and that's a problem. You're going to probably see staff cuts. You're going to probably see even some of the sports cut, which is sad. But you can't go from making $24 million a year to $4 million a year and make that budget work. It just doesn't. I'm bad at that. I'm bad at math and bad at budgets, but even I know that's not gonna. You can't lose $20 million and expect to continue to do what you normally do. That's not gonna happen. So there you go. And they're not gonna, making up the Pac 2.0 is really not going to be a simple thing, to be sure. So, all right, let's get back here and get another couple of questions for you. And most of it's shock and awe. This is from Pablo Fernandez, who says, "What just happened?" Well, Pablo, buddy, what just happened is teams from California are coming to Tobacco Road. That's what it means. Yeah, it is a definite thing, and there's a lot of people who are upset about it, and I'm sure, as I've seen earlier, my buddies from SMU, they're very happy about it. What we got here? We got. Let's go to Vince. What you got, Vince? Okay. The trustees. Well, I said last night. Don't you said were happening. Those trustees released that they okay. The trustees who voted against it, according to Vince here, says that he thinks that it was for political reasons. Could be. Maybe they just want to look like they were against it when I put it on the record. But then they possibly were also, as I said, if it was a unanimous vote, they just made it their things clear, saying, I don't think it's a good idea, but okay, fine. If the rest of you want, we'll do it. So we'll see. That'll be coming out later. We'll find out for sure what the answer was. We don't have any Power 5 conferences anymore. We have Power 4 conferences because the PAC is down to 2 in a and that's just not going to fly. So unless you do a reverse merger or something like that, then no, we will not have a Power 5. We will have a Power 4, which of course would be the Southeastern Conference, the Atlantic Coast Conference, the Big 10, and the Big 12. So there you go. Okay, Digital Dam. Okay, Digital Dam wants to know. What do you want to know? You want to know if the conference drops below, the ACC drops below the 14, would it trigger? Yeah, it triggers a clause that ESPN no longer has to pay them money. But why would they do that? I mean, why would you? I mean, where are you going? You still have to buy your way out. So I don't understand it. I don't think, let's put it this way, that Clemson, Florida State, UNC, Miami, anywhere, that they're going to do that. I mean, that's, as I said before, it's raising a ridiculous amount of money, and you're not going to see in return. So I don't see that happen. Hey, Gregory, that's what we got going here. I think FSU, Clemson, North Carolina are looking for ways to lead this decade without a marquee team. The ACC becomes even more irrelevant. Best football players will go elsewhere. Great. I see your point. Okay, about that. FSU, Clemson, North Carolina are looking for ways to lead this decade. Yeah, they may. I mean, they may challenge in court. They may even win. But I don't. I think right now, we want to see. We want to see teams that are competitive, and I think look at the ACC from a standpoint of competitiveness. Okay, if you take Florida State and you take Clemson out of the mix, you still have competitive football, and you still have look at so many kids have transferred over from the transfer portal. I see they want to go where they can win, and if you can win the conference, there's still going to be good teams in the ACC, and they can always backfill. So I don't think all is lost yet, Greg. If I'm a fan, Don't worry. Just hang in there, buddy. Things will get better. Oh, I like this one. Starship Tracker. Marijuana Road goes to Tobacco Road. That's a great line. That is a great line. It is a bit of a culture shock to see Cal Berkeley and Stanford now part of, Duke, North Carolina, and Tobacco Road. Excuse me there for a second break sip. Anyway, so yes, Starship. I like that one. I like that one. I'm not going to steal it from you, but I do like it. Marijuana Road goes to Tobacco. Let's go back to the Twitter questions. Okay, what do we got here? All right. Okay, Oregon and Oregon State and Wazoo are the losers in this thing. Well, yeah, it's kind of like a divorce, and the kids always get hurt. Well, these guys are the only ones left. And there's a lot of people. Cheese and Fries says that. By the way, Cheese and Fries is a very follow Cheese and Fries. I follow them; they're really good on Twitter. Sorry about that, Beaver Buddies, but we do feel sorry for the fan base. It's not fair. Well, Cheese and Fries, you're right. It isn't fair. Nobody said life is going to be fair. All right. What do we got from PCL? Does the loss of baseball teams in the current form, cutting our entire program, including possibly gymnastics, in which we have Olympian, and not retiring our players or recruiting, the ability due to no visibility, does that justify it? I say yes. Okay. Well, I'm assuming that you're a Stanford person because Stanford has got a phenomenal list of different teams that they have, and so you're saying that that they're not going to get this much visibility. I would say that may not be true, but okay. As a matter of fact, it won't be true because the ACC gets much more visibility than what the old Pac-12 did. So maybe not all is lost there. And by the way, Stanford has $1 billion sports endowment. So not to be confused with the actual endowment, which is $38.2 million. Billion dollars. So you've got $1 billion endowment. I don't think they're gonna have to cut anybody. That doesn't make, they've got the money to get through that. A few more years and San Diego State will probably in the ACC anyway. Maybe, but there's going to be a lot of teams wanting to get into conferences because the chairs at the table in what is now the Big Four, there's going to be less of them to get into. So it's really going to be important to wherever you are in the American or in the Mountain West, you're going to really have to up your game because to get into these conferences now, that, as I said before, that have taken Power 5 teams, you now have less and less of an opportunity. So absolutely 100%, you're going to need to jump in there. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, we got, who's next? Chris McDonald. Hey, Chris, how you doing? You still think OSU and Wazoo should be added to the AAC, plus UConn and the top 6 from the Mountain West, making it the best conference outcome. It's a very interesting thing. So you're basically saying, about 2 years ago, I wrote a column that said that the American and Mountain West should merge, and it would work out better for both of them. And so I'm going to stick to that. Now, OSU and Wazoo, I think, as I said, either Mountain West or the American would love to have them, but logistically, when you're talking about travel, and because we all think about football, but you got to think about tennis, you got to think about the Olympic sports, swimming and diving, and all the other teams that are make up the sports department, the athletic department. You can't. They don't travel. In charter planes, they travel commercial airlines, and in some cases by bus. So I would strongly say that while I think the American would love to have them, logistically, Oregon and Washington make a whole lot more sense in the Mountain West because you've got Fresno State, you've got Fresno State, you've got Colorado State, you've got Boise State. You got a lot of teams that are within a lot closer distance than Texas and Florida and all the different schools in the American. So the Mountain West is logically your best bet, but not necessarily. We'll see how the American and the Mountain handle it. Let's see here. And let's go to what we got here. I don't know why it keeps the narrative that the issue is still and will remain in Pac-12. No, I don't think they will. And there's not, they say that there's money on the table. I don't know that there is. Guys, I really think you should check into that. I haven't read anywhere where there's money or a lot of money, let's put it that way, left in the Pac-12 because they didn't have to pay any exit fees to leave. So where's the money coming from? I mean, you still have those playoff money coming, but then again, you owe Comcast somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million. So how much is there? And if so, I mean, how does that work? I just don't see them taking those two teams and building an entire conference around them. Now, had Stanford and Cal stayed, yeah, I could see that. But no, not that. That just doesn't make any sense to me. Okay, here's Brian talking about how FSU could leave the game. Could leave the ACC. And that is FSU would keep their home games on ESPN and the ACC. So ESPN would get the big games until the grant of right expires. That's according to an FSU YouTuber. No idea if that's legit or not. Let's go with that. No, that's not legit. I mean, the networks are not going to pay. First of all, the network. You're saying that Fox is going to pay $500 million and not get all of the games. That makes 0 sense. 0 sense. I mean, good Lord, no, that's just not going to happen, Brian. Come on, you know that. But anyway, so yeah, the YouTuber that said that probably no. Don't know who it is. Don't know. I'm sure they're nice people, but no, I just don't see that happen. Just logically, it doesn't make any sense from a network standpoint. Why would you pay and allow half the games of the season to be on another network, and you're the one that jailbroke them? That makes no sense. But at this time of the day, on a Friday, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense. And again, whoever that YouTuber is, I'm sure they're nice people, and they do their best to inform folks. But that just does not make any sense. Okay, and let's go to the next one. All right. Here we go. The gang is back. Hey, Southeast Soldier, what's going on? The Mountain West and the American should merge and call it the Great American Conference. I like that. As a Mean Green alum. Good to you. Good on you. You guys have California coming to North Texas, right? Tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow. That ought to be fun. So Cal is going to Denton, Texas to play the Mean Green. So good on you. Good luck tomorrow. Okay, Starship, what you got for me? Beginning of the survival of the ACC. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't see how this is a bad thing. Is it travel bad? Yeah, it's travel bad, but I don't see how taking on Stanford and Cal with the money that they have and the money they bring in is a bad thing. I mean, I think it's going to turn out okay. Hey, Jerry, how you doing? After Oregon State and Washington State get settled, will that be the end of it? Yes, I sure as heck hope so, but I do believe it will be because there's really nothing else to do, right? Oklahoma and Texas are headed to the Southeastern Conference. You got all those teams headed, the 4 teams headed for the Big Ten with Oregon and Washington, USC and UCLA. And then you've got the 8 teams headed to, the Big 12. So, yeah, I don't think, right now, once the games get started and once things start moving along, I think we're done. I think the only thing that we have to worry about, like you said, is Oregon State and Washington State. Beyond that, I don't see any movement out of the conference. So out of the other conferences. So yeah, I think we're good for now. So we'll see. But yeah, Jerry, good point. Kenneth, how are you? How's your East Carolina game? Okay, now who does the AC add to replace SMU? I don't know if they're going to add anybody right now. And if it were me on your list there, I would take Liberty. Liberty's got a tremendous upside. JMU is good, ODU is good, but I think Liberty probably makes the most sense. I don't think, I can check, I will check with the conference, but I don't think, the other day I asked about that and the conference was like, well, we really don't need to. And then Mike Oresco, who's the commissioner, the other day, it was a Wednesday, I guess it was. Wednesday, Mike said that that they would take a look at, I think he used the phrase, kick the tires on Oregon State and Washington State. Honestly, I don't think they're going to go there. Again, logistically, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm sure they'll call and have a chat, but I don't think they're going to add them. Of the 3 you're giving me here, Kenneth, definitely it's Liberty, I think, to me, would be the best one because of the way that team, that entire school's athletic program has grown. I think that would be good. Great respect for ODU and JMU. They're good schools. I think Liberty, though, to me. Hey, by the way, Kenneth, you guys have to beat Michigan tomorrow because I said that that would be my upset of the week. Would be Michigan losing to East Carolina. So you gotta put the Pirates in there for me, buddy. All right, Soldier, what you got? AAC should invite you. Yeah, or both. If you're gonna go west, the best ones, I would go to Mexico because you're building it. If you think about it, you could build an I-10 deal that takes you west. So you already have South Florida. You already have Tulane that gets you to Louisiana. You've got Rice in Houston. You've got well, you don't have SMU anymore, but you've got you've got the University of North Texas. That's in Denton, so that's Dallas. You've got what is the other? Oh, you got Texas San Antonio, so there's that. You can go New Mexico, then you can go and get San Diego State, and then get UNLV, and yeah, if you wanted to add, I don't know, maybe I'd add Fresno to that as well, so you can have UNLV. So yeah, you can have a national conference out of that and build what we call like an I-10 bridge from basically Florida all the way to California, because I-10 basically dead ends in Orange County, just between Los Angeles and San Diego. So there you go. Starts in Jacksonville. All righty. Hey, Terrence, what's up? So I've said the cable industry will lose 10 million subscribers this year due to cord cutting. What? It's possible. Yeah, it is possible. They're losing badly, and they're not helping themselves. Spectrum, which is one of the largest cable companies in the country, lost almost 1 million last year. and they're in a fight right now with ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox over carrying the local stations, which made for a very difficult thing last night because a lot of people who wanted to watch, Nebraska and in Minnesota didn't get to see the game because of that battle. So, look, I think it's going to bottom out. Right now, there's 74 million home subscribers to cable. I don't think it'll ever get below 50%. I think there's a lot of people who just love to keep it and will keep it because it's convenient for them and they don't like the concept of doing cord cutting. So I don't think it'll ever get below that. But what will change is the amount of money that they will pay pay like TNT and TBS and ESPN and all the other programming people, folks who bring them the content. I don't think they're going to start pay more for that content when they're basically in competition with them on a streaming source. So let's say ESPN in 2025 goes to an ESPN streaming source, which is all ESPN, right? It's all ESPN Plus. Again, why would a cable company pay ESPN $5 or $6 or $8 per month per subscriber if they're in competition with streaming services? It doesn't make sense. So they're probably, not only is the amount of money that you pay every month going to go down, but the amount of revenue which ESPN and Turner and all the others are going to get, it's going to go down as well. So yeah, I think it won't go below 50. I mean, and that's going to take a while to get to that. You have to lose 20 some odd million cable homes in a couple of years, but maybe by 2028 or 2029, that could be the case. But yeah, it's the cord cutting aspect is becoming really huge, and now they have to make streaming work. What do we got? Many are reporting that NC State flipped. What do I think changed their mind? I honestly think, I don't know that NC State is the one that flipped, so I'm not going to say that I do. But let's use them as an example. Maybe they did. Probably because the fact of the matter is, as much as people were complaining, bringing Stanford, Cal, and SMU to the conference is not a bad thing. I mean, they're giving away. Now, remember, they're taking partial shares, and SMU is not taking a share for 7 years. So what does that mean? That means $72 million a year for the next 7 years goes to every other school in the conference. So, from a standpoint of you splitting it up, you make money. I don't understand where we're making money from these schools choosing to take reduced, if not in the case of SMU, no money, just to be in the conference. So, and it's not like these are bad schools. I mean, look at the money in research and other things that partnerships with Stanford and Cal could get you. I mean, it's just, it boggles my mind that it's taken this long for them to get to it. But I think what flipped them was the amount of money that they're going to get. I mean, is it going to be a lot of money? Not especially, but it's enough money to make, to pay for a lot of things, including travel. So I just don't get why the ACC members are so freaked about this. I don't think it's a bad deal. And so I think NC State, and it could have been Florida State that flipped. I don't know, but could have been North Carolina, even though they put out that statement. But we'll see. We'll see. What do we got here? Terrence Flink. All right. What do you got? Should the ACC prepare for the possibility that they could fall below 15 schools? No, I mean, that's just plain old a scare tactic and I don't know that anybody's using it. I mean, other than the internet, I don't think so, because you've got 3 schools coming, right? So you're not going to fall. You're going to fall below. You're going to fall below 15 schools if they were going to do that. You'd only be doing it for a year. So I don't think that is the case. And why would they? I mean, ESPN has the right to lower the annual payout. That is true. Okay, there's no question about that. But the grant of rights, the grant of rights is ends at the school year. Okay, and then it begins on August 1st. So basically, if Stanford and Cal and SMU are ready to go on August 1st and transfer into it, then they're not going to fall below. So that's what the theory just didn't make any sense to me. Not your theory, but because you're just writing down what they said. But the theory of dropping below 15 schools didn't make any sense because they can't leave until the end of the school year, which, as I said, is the end of June, July. And so then by August 1st, they can backfill, and Cal and Stanford and SMU can come on board. So I don't think that ESPN is going to worry about lowering the payout, or that they're in any shape or form in trouble with that. But it's a good question to ask, and hopefully, I just don't see why they would do that. I don't think that's going to do them any good. And by them, I mean the schools that want to get out of the conference. Justin, what do you got for me? Is it important to note that NC State Board of Trustees did not make a statement in the U.S.? Well, I mean, I don't know that I would read a great deal into that. I mean, I think North Carolina wanted to be on the record saying, we don't think this is a good idea for our students, and basically it was a cover their a CYA, definitely a CYA. They want to cover themselves on this. If things go pear-shaped, they don't want to be in the middle of it. I mean, Florida State didn't issue a statement, and we know they voted against them, in the first round. So I wouldn't read too much into that. That one Board of Trustees felt it necessary to make a statement while another one didn't. So yeah, I wouldn't really read a lot into that one, Justin. I think that they, as I said before, politically they wanted to be on the record saying, hey, we don't think this is as good an idea as perhaps you might think. But it's a good question to ask. Jim Phillips on Friday did what George Kliavkoff could not do in 4 days. 4 days ago, and that's land the plane. Yeah, kudos to Jim. Commissioner Phillips did what others couldn't do, and it took him a while, no question about that. But be very aware that Jim Phillips did a very good job of really creatively coming up with a way to get $72 million that they didn't have before. Sorry, just a quick sip here. So Commissioner Phillips pulled that off, and he did that in about, 10 days? So, good on him. And you're right, he landed the plane, which Kliavkoff couldn't do. So kudos to Phillips. He did a good job, and he made it work. And so there you go. That's a good situation. Hey, Immaculate, how you doing, bud? Good morning. Good morning to you. Quite the morning to wake up to. I got to tell you that. Hey, how about that ASU game last night? I didn't get to watch it because I was sleeping, but I understand, or something else. Anyway, I understand the kid, the new quarterback out there, did a really crazy job. I mean, he did well. Hey, so ASU won, so good on them. And good morning to all of my Arizona fans, friends out there. I'll tell you what, I didn't see the Gators getting clobbered that bad last night. My goodness, they got ran out of Utah. Ugh, man, that was something else. All right, Terrence, there you go. Okay, the Pac-12 still owns a lot of state-of-the-art infrastructure for the network. Should the Big 12 purchase it, what's going to happen to it? I'm going to start with your answer to should the Big 12 purchase it? No, you don't think so. And the reason, well, no. The tier 3 rights for the Big 12 is owned by ESPN. So there's no sense in having that network out there if ESPN is not going to support it. Now, so I don't think they should purchase it. It is, though, state-of-the-art technology, really good stuff out there. And they put that thing together in a very, I mean, it's really cool. It's state-of-the-art stuff. So does it have value? Yes. And so what I would expect is going to happen to it is maybe NBC or somebody. It could be ESPN, could be Fox, could be any number of people, could buy it and use it for a West Coast, a West Coast operations center. They could do, ESPN could use it like that and use it for, they could use it for the Big 12, but they could also use it for a number of other things that come out of there. And certainly NBC has regional sports networks in the Bay Area. So the concept of having a network broadcast center like they have in San Francisco would be very interesting. And I think, as I said, the tier 3 rights of the Big 12 is owned by ESPN. So they're, I don't know that they would, I don't know whether they would purchase it or not. I'm talking about ESPN now. I don't know that the Big 12 should purchase it. I think that might be a mistake because the overhead and all the other stuff that has to do with it makes it, you got to turn a profit with it. And you'd have to go out and you'd have to go and find cable companies and others that do it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Apple bought it, because that's a place where they're only a few miles from the campus of Apple. And so maybe Apple will buy it and use it as their West Coast operations center. But, Terrence, it's certainly worth checking out, right? Yeah, the Utah, yeah, it was shocking. Yeah, pretty much. Florida forgot to show up. I think that's probably a big situation. But kudos to Utah. They played really good football. Place was jumping last night. Looked like a lot of fun. I know I got some texts and some information sent to me by folks out in Utah having a good time. So I know the Utes enjoyed winning. That's for darn sure. All right. The storyline of the future may be that Cam Rising's transferred to another school next year. If those two kids played really good last night for, and they also did a good job of mixing it up with the running quarterback and the throwing quarterback. So yeah, it was a good combination. It's funny because Cam Rising was sought after by Florida and by Billy Napier. Maybe after the game last night, when congratulating him, they probably walked by and asked Cam how he was doing. Maybe next year. But yeah, no, they played well. Those two kids that stepped in and played for Cam Rising were really, really talented kids. So, now I'm hoping they're really talented kids, or it could be Florida was so bad that they made them look good. But I think they play Baylor next. I'm talking about Utah now. And then they go to UCLA and play that as their first conference game. So maybe we'll find out when they play Baylor, because they've got to play Baylor on the road in Waco. So that might be interesting. We'll see. Okay, what do we got here? If people think crazy, think of Cam Rising transfer last year, Jalen Hurts. Yeah, there's that. And my gosh, how many times has Keenan Slovis, who's the quarterback at BYU, transferred? I mean, this is his third team. He started off at Southern Cal, and then when they were going to bring Caleb Williams in, he left, went to Pitt. That didn't seem to work out for him, and now he's quarterbacking at BYU. By the way, he graduated from USC, so he's in his sixth year of eligibility, which was brought on because of COVID. So you could have 6 years of eligibility. So he definitely, Slovis, proved that that's something that can happen. But yeah, Cam, Cam Rising, is he the odd man out? I don't know, but he's still a very talented guy. But those two young kids that played last night did a really good job. But I would put Cam in there and see how he did. Maybe what you can do, though, is you can rest him, Cam Rising, rescue Cam, and let the other two guys go down and battle Baylor, and then have him ready for the conference season. Maybe that's the route to go. We'll have to see how they play it. Coach Whittingham's a good coach. He'll figure it out. Let's see if we got in more of our wonderful world of. Okay, tomorrow Oregon State will meet with Mountain West in the first of what's likely to be a number of meetings. OSU is not waiting for Stanford to decide what to do. They shouldn't. Then Washington State has to explore all their options. Look for them likely to meet with the Americans soon. Well, yeah, Mike Oresco said that the other day, that they would definitely be meeting with both Oregon State and Washington State soon. Gloria Navarez, who is the Mountain West commissioner, very impressive lady, very impressive. She was at one time the associate athletic director at Cal. She graduated from Cal with a law degree from Cal, and she's the Mountain West commissioner. She definitely knows, Oregon State and Washington State from her days in the Pac-12. So I would think that, and she comes off as a very bright and very knowledgeable person. Their media rights deal is up in 2 years, so maybe that $4 to $6 million figure that they're getting right now could maybe get to 10 with Oregon State and Washington State. And she said she was open to the potential of a reverse merger. That's going to take years if they do that. So I don't think they're going to go that route. I think they're going to want Oregon State and Washington State to say let's go and jump into the conference. But we'll see. And I wouldn't count Mike Oresco and the American out. I'm sure they'll give a good pitch, and we'll see where that goes. Alrighty. Okay. Cam Rising has history of injury, which is troublesome, and Whittingham has to think about the future of the team. You don't want to stop progress. No, you don't. But then again, you don't want to see a quarterback lose his job because he got injured and not because he didn't perform on the field. I mean, when Cam was on, I think the thing here right now is, where is Cam Rising's ability to be mobile? If he's not really a pocket passer, he's not really a big guy, so he's not really tall enough to be that kind of guy. You got to be north of 6'4", 6'5", to really be an accurate pocket passer. But we'll see. I mean, yeah, he does have a history of injury. There's no doubt about that. But he also has a history of winning. So, and yeah, I don't know. I mean, you got three good quarterbacks. You got an abundance of talent there. So yeah, I mean, could one of them transfer in the off season? Yeah, but I really think Whittingham wants to give Rising a chance. So we'll see how that plays out. Whittingham's an old school coach. I don't think he wants Cam Rising to think that all that he's done for the school, which, oh, by the way, just happens to be winning back-to-back Pac-12 championships, has gone for naught. So I think that they're going to give Cam a chance to get into his job and see how he does. And if he doesn't do well, then they've got plenty of options. Okay, so there you go. Okay, you don't think the collapse of the cable bundle? Oh no, 100%. It will have an impact on rights deals. As a matter of fact, I would say that this is the last big media rights deal that we're going to get. I mean, that's the amount of money, the $9 billion, B with a B, billion with a B, $1 billion that went out to the Big Ten. That's the last one of those. That is not going to happen. you're going to get them chopped up into pieces where there's going to be a lot more consolidating. So, Terrence, to answer your question, yeah, I think the bundle will have a huge impact. I mean, look what it's done to NBA basketball and hockey and Major League Baseball. I mean, you got the Utah Jazz, you got the Clippers in Los Angeles, you got Phoenix Suns, all of the NBA, and all they've taken their games to direct to consumer, and they're going to have their own little network, and they're going to get totally out of the cable business. Same for for the I'm thinking for just a second, the hockey team. Same for the Vegas Knights. They're going to do that too. So, yeah, I mean, we're looking at much more opportunity for a direct-to-consumer product, specifically in professional sports, where you're just going to have the opportunity to buy your team's games if that's what you want to do. And so, yeah, it does. The collapse of the bundle is going to have a huge impact on the rights deals, and it's also going to. I mean, Bob Iger at ABC said, you might remember that interview with CNBC a while back, where he said that folks in the sports business are going to have to be more selective of where they put their money. And I do believe there's going to be a lot of sharing of rights. CBS and Turner, started that deal when they did the March Madness package that they put together, which ironically, two people who are now commissioners in college did that. That was Mike Aresco, who's the American, and Tony Petitti, who's now the Big Ten. So I'm with you, Terrence. It's going to have an impact on sports radio rights going forward. So yeah, I agree. We don't want to see it, but it does happen, and Cam will return to play this year. Yeah, he'll play, and but the good news, and this is what Whittingham has done throughout his career, he's been able to do a very good job of keeping his players comfortable, so that they don't want to go anywhere else. And so I think that he's got that no ego aspect. He doesn't have a lot of. That's, if you look at Utah, it's definitely a team. They're not stacked up with 5-star and 4-star players, but they've got a lot of players who just are capable of playing roles and doing things and making it work. And I think that's what has made him successful, Whittingham successful over the years, is he's been able to do that. So I think he's going to let Cam play, and if Cam doesn't get hurt or is ineffective, well then he certainly has an insurance policy. So I think that's definitely a big plus in that regard. So guys, we got about 5 more minutes, so let's before we wrap it up. We'll go to some more questions. UMass, UConn, Temple, Army, and Navy need to band together for football reasons in the East. That's an interesting group. UMass, UConn, Temple, Army, and Navy. Well, Navy is in the American Conference, so they're not going anywhere. So is Temple. UConn's independent. UMass is independent. And so I don't know, Dream. I don't see that happening. Because Army doesn't want to be in a conference. UConn and UMass. UConn definitely wants to be in a conference, so does UMass, but I don't see where maybe they could end up in the Big East. Don't know, but maybe. Everybody keeps thinking that OSU and Wazoo is going to the Mountain West. Makes sense. Could be. NC State isn't a hard no vote. Well, that's true now. We know that for sure. And somebody says the Mountain West and the American should merge. I'm all for that. Let me scroll down here and see if there's any. ACC with Rice, North Texas, and Charlotte. I'm not sure what you're asking me there, buddy. 876 Shaba. I don't know what the question is. You're just saying, you just said to me, the ACC with Rice in North Texas and Charlotte is, and they have a question mark, seek help. They're in the AAC, guys. So I already got help. Any more? Nah, no more on that I haven't seen. And let's see, Nuygens says that he thinks the most likely outcome, other than the ACC sticking together through 2036, is other ACC members leaving, and then there's a king's ransom out there for those who stay. He's right about that. He's absolutely right about that. Did you see a streaming bubble? Subscription costs continue to rise as most streaming platforms come to market. The cost of having a full lineup of streaming platforms is getting similar to cable, which is true. There's no question about that. But I think that what they're going to do is they're going to do some consolidation. I mean, let's take a look. What we saw is, for instance, Max came up, which is used to be HBO Max, but it's just Max now. And what did they do? They folded all of the HBO platform in there. They folded all of the Discovery. Discovery Plus doesn't exist anymore. It's all under Max. So they consolidated that. You see, Disney's trying to offload Hulu because they don't want Hulu anymore. They want to roll everything that they have in Hulu into Disney Plus. So you see a lot of consolidation. That's number one. Number two, one of the problems of certainly Disney had this problem, is they paid out, almost $5 billion to Lucas, to Pixar, to a number of different companies to produce content, specifically movies, that just didn't bring back money. And a lot of that is because since COVID, there aren't as many people going to the movies. So they lost on that. And so that was something that they're going to have to figure out again. It's not, in the entertainment business, it's not any different than the sports business. You have to produce content that people want, and you have to be, you have to pick the right things. You can't just throw money at it, which is what Disney did, and it didn't work out. Now, again, they were with some of the best brands, in entertainment. You had Lucasfilms. I mean, they're winners. Pixar's done fantastic. The Marvels, the Marvel Empire, which they sunk money into, all that is normally would be winners, but for some reason it didn't show up that way this time around. So the streaming bubble, I think it's not as much the streaming bubble as the ability for these groups to work with each other and to fold them in. I mean, you can't. Disney has 3 streaming services. Okay, they've got Hulu, they've got Disney Plus, and they've got the ESPN Plus. It makes no sense. You're cannibalizing your own content, and you need to put it all in one place. And that's what they've done, and what they're going to do. They're going to put it all under Disney's the Disney Plus moniker. I don't know if that's going to happen, because remember, ESPN is a spinoff, so ESPN exists without. He's not under the Disney banner, although you can bundle it all. But we've seen Showtime is bailing on their own service, and they're coming to Paramount Plus. So I think that's going to be. So you're going to see a lot more consolidation and a lot less of having multiple streams for the same company. So rather than Showtime and Paramount Plus being competitors, and they're owned by the same people, they'll be under the same roof. So I think that's where we're going to see a lot more of that, and a lot less of the standalone stuff, which works. But you're right. I mean, it's gonna. They need to get that one. fix, and then the market's going to adjust to what people are willing to spend, and people will. I mean, I know myself, we sometimes get rid of a service for a while and maybe come back to it later, but it just works that way. We'll see. Let's see what we got. All right, Terrence. Fox wanted the Big Ten to add Washington and Oregon. Those two schools are not addictive for competition with conference for TV exposure and CMP. What did the Big Ten presidents vote? Yeah. Why did the Big Ten presidents voted? Because they had a view of seeing a coast-to-coast conference, and they added Washington and Oregon at a pennies on the dollar situation. Washington and Oregon came in at a third share of what everybody else was getting. So the ironic thing about this, Terrence, is that I lost my train of thought there for a second. Oh, okay. Yeah, they came in at approximately 30 million a year, which is ironic because that's pretty much what Arizona State, Utah, and Colorado left for. And it was what was offered them by ESPN in the first round. So, and then nobody went back to Apple to ask them. I think Apple would have come up if they said, look, if we can keep the conference together, if you get to 30 million, well, they were at 28. So I don't think they would have had too much trouble pushing it to 30. So I think they added it and voted yes because they saw value in having Washington and Oregon at a reduced rate. Basically, as I said, they'll take a third of what everybody else is getting. They're not going to get a full share until the next contract. So it was kind of like a bargain. Just you get the Pacific Northwest. You have now 4 teams on the West Coast, which is helpful to them. So I think the Big Ten presidents voted yes because they thought that would help them when they travel west. They've had 4 schools to travel to instead of 2. So that's, I think, why they did it. I am surprised, however. I would have thought they would have taken Stanford and Cal before Washington and Oregon, but I think that Phil Knight's influence from his Nike empire might very well have swayed some votes to take Oregon and Washington. But that's just a guess. That's no knowledge of what that is, but Phil Knight has some pretty good power out there. But remember, those were both last-minute deals because the only deals that Fox was also at the time dealing with the Big 12 at that time. So we'll see. But I think that's why they did. They want to have some more out west. But Terrence, that was a good question. It's done. You're right, Jeff. It's done. Thank goodness. We don't have to worry about it anymore. The ACC's got their teams, and they've got. Yeah, and let's see. Long term, I think that about 15 years regional conferences may rebound to true. Yeah, calling it now. The Pac and the Big East will be real legit powers conferences. It could be. I hope so, Jeff. I really do. I would like to see that. Excuse me. Sorry. Excuse me. No, you don't have to call 911. I'm fine, thanks. But thanks for thinking. All right. Reportedly, Fox wanted Oregon. I don't know about that. I imagine they did. You're right about the presidents wanting Washington. Washington was probably the reason that they took Oregon, to be honest. They wanted Washington because of their relationship with the the tech companies, and Oregon does have well, they have a relationship, but it's not as strong a relationship as Washington does. So yeah, they do. All right, gang. First of all, thanks today, as always, for your help. We will not be back on Monday because Monday is a holiday, Labor Day. But we will be back on Tuesday at 10 a.m. I want to thank you all for all the great questions that you asked. I mean, you guys are super at it. You kept us going for over an hour today, and it's a big day. If you're an ACC fan, good on you for adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU to the lot. And perhaps by next week, we'll know a little bit more about where or what's going to happen with Oregon State or Washington State. They're both going to be next up on the deal. One real quick last run. We'll run through the games for tonight. Howard is at Eastern Michigan. That's a 6:30 kick on ESPN Plus. Central Michigan at Michigan State, 7 o'clock on FS1. Check that one out with our buddy Tim Brando on the call. Miami at Miami. That's Miami of Ohio at Miami of Florida. 7 o'clock on the ACC network. Louisville against Georgia Tech in Atlanta, 7:30 kick on ESPN. ESPN Plus has Missouri at Kansas. That's an 8 o'clock game on ESPN Plus. And finally, game of the night, Stanford at Hawaii. That's 11 o'clock kick on CBS Sports Network. If you can't get CBS Sports Network, you can do it for free on their website or also on the CBS Sports app. You can watch it for free. So if you don't have that on your cable company or your satellite service, do not worry. You can get it for free. All right, gang. Thanks so much for everything. Have a wonderful and a very safe holiday weekend. And we'll be back on Tuesday, okay? Until that time, be well, enjoy yourselves, and we're going to have some fun come Tuesday.